But first, the power of the internet has emerged as a major issue at a meeting of security and law enforcement agencies today to discuss how to combat the growing terror threats to Australia. The rise of teenage radicalisation has been linked to social media. Amid revelations, a 12-year-old boy has been monitored by police this year in connection with suspected terrorist activity. In response, the government is attacking Islamic State messages on social media.
ISIL propaganda needs to be contested. It is the barbaric messages that ISIL, Al-Qaeda and other groups propagate needs to be challenged.
And we work with Facebook, we work with Twitter, we work with Google to take it off the internet.
Well, the government says it's using metadata retention laws as part of its counter-terror operations. The broader debate on metadata continues to raise some key questions. Are we sliding into mass surveillance on the back of increased security powers and facial recognition technology? How much of our private data is being collected? What happens to it? Does it matter? And is there enough oversight to protect us from abuse or overreach? We'll start with this report from Margot O'Neill.
What's your definition of mass surveillance? Is Australian intelligence prying into the lives of most Australians? Is it snooping through most of our emails or telephone calls? No. But can they access an unprecedented volume of highly personal details about most Australians? Yes. Our faces, our telephone records, the databases are already huge. And then there's the motherlode, the Five Eyes intelligence network. It's made up of 5 allied nations: the US, the UK, Canada, New Zealand, and the Australian Signals Directorate, or ASD. The Five Eyes partnership was forged after World War II to intercept foreign government intelligence. And then the internet happened. NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden revealed how the Five Eyes harvest a staggering volume of global data. Online searches, purchases, downloads, social media posts, photos, geolocation.
All of these things are being tracked, they're being intercepted, they're being recorded. They're being indexed into a sort of surveillance time machine.
These agencies, the American National Security Agency, Britain's GCHQ and the ASD here in Australia, basically have been working to secure a stranglehold on the internet, to collect data globally.
But why would they want to do that? Because big data algorithms enable them to trawl gigantic databases to profile or find individuals or groups or activities of interest.
If you want to find something in the internet as a vast haystack of information, if you want to find a needle, you're going to have to take the whole haystack. It's like having a global 24-hour-a-day, 365-day-a-year search warrant running on whole societies, including Australian society.
Australia's electronic spy agency, the ASD, is prohibited from spying on the communications of Australians inside Australia. But that all changes once communications go offshore. And that's what happens with most of your internet activity. Just about every Google search and Facebook post touches a foreign server. ASD runs taps on undersea fibre optic cables out of Sydney and Perth that carry international telephone and internet traffic, at least according to documents leaked by Edward Snowden and researched by Australian journalist Philip Dorling.
The objective is to access foreign data that passes through Australia, and also any Australian data that is of specific security or intelligence interest. And in order to collect those bits and pieces that they want at a particular time, they basically take the whole lot. And they do so at the shoreline, so to speak.
Now a previously unreported Snowden document shows how much Australia is also digging into private internet data by using the NSA's controversial PRISM program. PRISM takes chunks of users' online activity directly from companies like Google. In the 12 months to May 2012, the Australian Signals Directorate, then known as DSD, produced more than 300 reports based on PRISM, more reports than the UK, which produced 197. The document was found by UK privacy activist Eric King.
what we've now found out is that DSD, the Australian Intelligence Services, were using PRISM. They were having access directly to Google, Apple, Facebook, and other big US companies, reaching right into the heart of their customers' data and pulling that out. The fact that they're a third more than even Britain used is astonishing.
Okay, so it seems pretty clear that there is mass interception of our private data. But does that mean there's mass surveillance? Not according to a former British GCHQ intelligence analyst, David Wells, who also worked in Australian intelligence until last year.
I'd say we're not living in a mass surveillance state in terms of an idea that the government is trying to track everything that everybody is doing, but I'd say that, you know, in some ways, in terms of data and the internet, the ship sailed quite a long time ago. That data is incredibly powerful and incredibly useful for lots of different reasons. And I think for any government or any intelligence agency to deny themselves access to those sorts of data would be suicidal in terms of their effectiveness. So I don't think we can wind back the clock.
But what happens to our data after it's automatically scooped up by agencies here or in the US? Is it filtered out, deleted?
I don't think it's filtered and deleted. It's very difficult to delete data. It's simply not used. I can't think of a circumstance where the data relating to an ordinary citizen going about their business would be of any interest to ASD whatsoever.
Here's what intelligence agencies have argued since the Snowden leaks, that there's no surveillance until they extract and analyse specific personal data from the vast internet haystack. In other words, they say collection of our personal data does not equal surveillance. But the data can be extracted any time, so it's not used until it is. It all depends on what's being searched.
One of the interesting developments is the way in which the intelligence community and law enforcement have started to move into what they describe as pattern of life analysis, which is sifting through vast quantities of metadata to look for certain behavioural patterns and connections between people.
The new technologies would allow police forces without warrant to put the brief of evidence together before there was any reasonable suspicion that a crime had been or would be committed. That turns the whole paradigm on its head. Is that something that we want in a free society?
We are collecting all American citizens' records all of the time.
The US and the UK have been forced to redraw their surveillance laws after court cases and inquiries found some surveillance activities were illegal.
Compared to the US and Britain, the oversight we have of our intelligence agencies is not just anemic, but it seems to be on life support.
Reforming the oversight of intelligence agencies was the last plea of former Defence Minister Senator John Faulkner when he left Parliament last year.
Not only has oversight of the intelligence agencies, in my view, failed to keep pace with their burgeoning role and powers, it has been decades since the effectiveness and adequacy of the oversight framework has been critically examined. The time has come for a thorough review of the current arrangements for oversight of Australian intelligence agencies.